Let's ride.
Let's bring in meteorologist Chris Warren from our partners at the Weather Channel. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Major. This huge winter storm still making travel either very difficult or impossible, especially around the Great Lakes, where blizzard warnings do remain in effect through Saturday. Some areas, snowfall could total more than a foot when it's all said and done. Dangerous cold continues from Montana all the way down to Florida, with wind chill advisories and warnings still in place into the weekend. Some of the coldest air we've felt in a long time in the Northeast will happen tomorrow morning, with temperatures feeling like they are below zero widespread across the region. As far as Christmas goes, a modest warming to the south, and Major, not expecting any significant warming across the rest of the country until the middle of next week.
Chris Warren, we thank you.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Freezing wind and snow pummeling the city of Buffalo, New York on Friday prompted local officials to ban all cars other than emergency crews from the region's roads.
The roads are freezing. The roads are going to be like an ice skating rink.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul warned all New Yorkers to hunker down and stay inside as a massive winter weather system pounded the state.
This is a life-threatening, dangerous event. Protect yourselves, protect your families. Do not travel.
More than two-thirds of the U.S. population was under extreme weather alert on Friday as a deep freeze enveloped much of the country ahead of the holiday weekend. With a column of bitter cold that stretched from Texas to Montana starting to march eastward, the National Weather Service said more than 240 million people in the United States were under some sort of winter weather advisory on Friday. A shopping center in Wausau, Wisconsin, showed the temperature dipped to negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Forecasters said a blizzard over the U.S. Midwest had formed into a, quote, bomb cyclone over Lake Erie. The extreme weather disrupted households and holiday plans just before Christmas. About 1.5 million U.S. homes and businesses were without power on Friday, according to the tracking site poweroutage.us. More than 4,000 U.S. flights were canceled Friday, according to flight tracking service FlightAware. Along the East Coast, the Weather Service said rain and westerly winds pushing seawater to shore could cause 3 feet of shoreline flooding.
Much later.
Meteorologists are calling it a once-in-a-generation weather event. It's complicating the once-in-a-year festivities, to say the least. A pre-Christmas mass mobilization has been stalled by high winds, heavy snowfall and flooding in freezing temperatures. A number of cities have declared states of emergency, including New York.
I called it a kitchen sink storm because it is throwing everything at us but the kitchen sink. We've had ice, flooding, snow, freezing temperatures, and everything that Mother Nature could wallop at us this weekend. I declared a state of emergency that took effect at 6 a.m. this morning.
The Arctic blast has forced the cancellation of several thousand flights and counting. The travel chaos is reflected on the roads too, with motorists stranded in whiteout conditions. More than 200 million people are under some form of weather advisory. That's 60% of the US population, struck by the phenomenon dubbed a bomb cyclone.
The storm intensifies really quickly. You can get very damaging winds, and then the winds over the water can move water around, so you get huge waves, storm surge, coastal flooding. It can be pretty terrible.
The severe cold brings disruption, but also danger to life. There have been several deaths. In Houston, Texas, a homeless man in a wheelchair fell into a fire pit overnight. He was found dead by firefighters called to the scene. In the cold temperatures, a number of cities, including Portland in Oregon, have declared a state of emergency, opening extra shelters for homeless people. More than 1 million people have had their power cut off as the storm battles through North America before Christmas.
It's dangerously cold. I mean, I would advise anyone, if you don't have to be out, don't go out. And if you do go out, well, you need to bundle up.
There is no right time for conditions like these. It's certainly not right now. James Matthews, Sky News in Washington.
Join large...
The deed is done.
In the Chicago area, the cold weather and hazard forecasts extend as far south as the U.S.-Mexico border.
Taking a live look at Orland Park, where the school district there actually canceled classes and began its winter break early because of today's extreme cold.
And let's check it out, the frozen tundra of the city of Chicago, the downtown portion of it anyway. A live look, the area, of course, blanketed with snow. While that part of the winter storm may be over, strong winds and frigid cold will persist through the holiday weekend.
Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls has our first check of that forecast. Emily.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but in that live view, we actually started to see some ice developing out there on Lake Michigan, too. So it's definitely getting very, very cold. Temperatures right now, we are still sub-zero in the city. It's -2. We have 3 degrees below zero in Aurora, 3 below in Woodstock. Same thing for Waukegan, 2 below in Gary, and it's 4 degrees below zero now in Merrillville. Once you factor in the winds, this is what it's feeling like. We still have wind chill temperatures that are around 20 to 35 degrees below zero, and that's going to stay the same as we go throughout the overnight hours tonight. Wind gusts right now. We have westerly winds that are gusting over 40 miles per hour in many locations. Gary now seeing 32 mile per hour wind gusts, but about an hour ago, there was actually a wind gust of 57 miles per hour. So whiteout conditions are still certainly going to be possible, especially for those of you that have to travel north-south running roads. Our winter storm warning in pink and our blizzard warning for Porter and LaPorte that remains in effect through Saturday morning.
This is how legends are born.